How did you get involved in this work?
For 31 years I was in law enforcement, and it was one of those careers that you get into it going out to save the world, and you're thinking that you're going to do a lot of positive things for the community, and you do a lot of positive, but the one thing that I found out very quickly is that you deal with a lot of negative instances, and it's just one of those things where you're always searching for the positive. And probably about 31 years of doing law enforcement, and I did have some opportunities within the law enforcement career to do some positive work, working with the DARE program, working with students for about 17 years. After I finished my law enforcement career in 2014, I had the opportunity to become part of a grant called the Planning and Implementation Grant, put out by the Department of Human Services. And it's a 5-year grant, and it deals with working with communities and implementing positive community norm messages.
Tell us about your coalition.
The name of the coalition is the Austin Positive Action Coalition. We're currently working on a couple of projects. The first is our positive community norm messages. So basically what we do is we take all the information that we learn in the community assessment, student assessments, and we create messages that reinforce the positive things that our students are doing in the schools and in the community. Simply Talk is kind of the result of the assessment of our parents and community members wanting to learn more about how they can become involved in their students' lives, and it's a way to encourage them to talk to their young people, because one of the greatest prevention tools that we have is just open communication with our young people.
What does assessment look like for your coalition?
Assessment, that's one thing we do a lot of in this grant, is we do a lot of different assessments. The first assessment that we did was looking at our young people, and we surveyed our young people in grades 7 through 12. And we asked them a series of questions to determine, what their use is, what the perception of their fellow students are, a number of different things to try to gain information about our young people. And with that information, we created those positive community norm messages that I talked about earlier. We also did a community assessment because we wanted to learn, what the community really wanted to see from this grant. So we did one-on-one interviews with about 50 individuals in the Austin community. We also did a parent survey, which went out to about 1,500 of our parents in our district. And we learned a lot of different things about, what our parents were concerned about and what our community members were concerned about. So what we did is, that's some of the information that we used in our Simply Talk campaign. And we found out that that the parents really want to engage with their young people. They thought that their students didn't want them to engage, but that was one of the other questions that we learned from our student assessment, is that the students in fact did want their parents to engage in conversation. So it's very important to do those community assessments and also those student assessments, because you gain a lot of knowledge and it helps you with your strategy campaign.
How do you think sharing this will help others?
I think we can't keep all our secrets to ourselves. We have to share the good, and one of the things that I think is very important is that we always look at hope and concern when we're talking about assessments. And then sometimes when we do assessments, we just look at the concern part of the equation, and it's so important to look at the hope part. And I think that's the one thing I'd want to share with individuals that are watching this video, is just to look for that hope in that assessment, and focus on that hope. Focus on the positive things that are happening in your communities and among your young people.